Welcome to the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl, where we dive into the captivating world of books. Here at the Book Buzz Show, we encourage you to make your pages turn with joy and immerse yourself in a magical literary experience. Enjoy the show. Welcome to the Book Buzz Show with Cheryl, where we dive into the captivating world of books. Here at the Book Buzz Show, we encourage you to make your pages turn with joy and immerse yourself in a magical literary experience. Enjoy the show.
Hello, and welcome to the Book Buzz Show. I am your host, Cheryl Brooks. And if you are new here, welcome. If you are returning, welcome back. If you enjoy the upcoming show, please like, follow, subscribe, and share the broadcast. And for those of you who are new here at the Book Buzz Show, we do discuss the books and the characters with minor spoilers, but we don't give anything too major away that would ruin your reading enjoyment, just enough to hopefully whet your appetite enough to want to go and get the book. Tonight, we have a great show in store for you. We'll be discussing actually two books in a series. The Seven Deadly Kins by Tiana Laveen. And here is, let's see, book one's book cover on the screen. And that one is called The Top Dog Lust. Again, that's by Tiana Laveen for those who are listening later. And this is book two, part one. The Black Sheep, Greed, and is all part of the Seven Deadly Kin series. I love that. Seven Deadly Kin series. All right. And without further ado, I'm going to bring on tonight's guest, USA Today bestselling author Tiana Laveen, to the stage. All right. Hello. Welcome to the show.
Hello, thank you for having me.
You are very welcome. I'm glad to have you here. Let's see. Looks like we have some people in the audience.
Hello, everybody.
Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for joining us.
Yep, I see EL, I see Lee.
Yep, Lee, Myra,
Yep.
Francis.
Great.
Thank you, everyone, for joining. Let's see. Something is going on with Instagram. Let me.
Okay.
Mm. All right. I'll keep an eye on Instagram. It doesn't show up in the main feed, so if anyone comes over there, I'll acknowledge them as well. See if they have any questions for you.
Okay.
All right, and we'll get right into it. So we're talking about two books. We're really four.
Yes.
All right. Okay, so since this is our first time you've been on, for the first time you've been on the show, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started on your professional writing journey?
Sure. Okay. So actually, well, backstory, I have been writing forever, like since I knew the alphabet. It's
Okay.
I was an only child and I had a very vivid imagination. And when you were back in raised in the 80s and 90s,
Mm-hmm.
our parents versus now, they didn't coddle as much. So we had a lot of time on our hands and to do things and to come up with stuff. And we didn't have Google and all this stuff.
Right, you had to entertain yourselves or go outside or
Exactly.
something.
Yep. And so I loved writing stories from an early age. And so, but I was always writing stories. I wrote stories in school. I was in creative writing. I was in advanced English in high school and college. The same thing. I was taking journalism and writing classes and doing well with that. But I always felt like a writing career wasn't something that was going to be able to pay the bills and all that.
Mm-hmm.
So it had remained a hobby for so long. So I got a business degree and I was working in marketing and I did a little accounting work and things of that nature. I was not satisfied, but that's what I thought I should have been doing. Well, fast forward, I get married. I have I'm pregnant with my son, and then my son is born, and there are some concerns.
Mm-hmm.
So because that was such a trying time for me emotionally, that I needed to do something with that energy instead of just lamenting over that and being overly concerned to the point of, it was affecting my health.
Right.
So I decided to, when everybody was asleep, I would go downstairs to my little office that I had just the putz around in, and I started writing. I had one of those really old, heavy MacBooks.
Okay.
Yeah, and this was back in 2009.
Okay.
And I just started writing and writing and writing. And fast forward, I posted an excerpt of a short story that I was writing on Facebook. And I hadn't been on Facebook long at that point, probably like 6 months.
Okay.
A friend of mine who I didn't know was a published author, he saw it, the excerpt, and he reached out to me privately. He said, "Hey, this is really good. You should do something with this." And now here I am.
Okay.
So
I love that. So did you shop it around traditionally, or did you do the indie independent?
well, that's the interesting part of this. He was with a publishing company. And what's really funny is I at that time would have only did it with a publishing company because I didn't understand the whole indie author thing back then. And I felt
Right.
like I wouldn't be able to handle something like that because I needed somebody to kind of guide me, I felt.
Mm-hmm.
So his publishing house was actually going to pick it up, but then the publishing house just crumbled
Oh
midway through.
no.
So the contract was null and void, but this story was still done. So he said, "You know what? I'm going to meet up with you. We're going to go to the library. We're going to sit there for many hours and I'm going to show you how to publish this yourself."
Okay.
And that's what he did.
I
Thank,
love
thank
that.
you, Cole Black. That's his author name.
Yes, I love that. I love when people extend a helping hand, because we all have been our first time doing something, and
Exactly.
right. I love that.
Yep. So I did it. And the first book was Cross Climax 1 and Cross Climax 2. They were both a series of short, I wouldn't say erotic, but sensual stories, interracial sensual stories. And that's where it all started. Then the third book was Slave Master Son. And then the fourth book was I Want Candy. And then fifth came Saint. And then
Okay.
when Saint came, everything blew
And
up.
everything blew up. Now, did you know that you always wanted to write IR? Was that from?
No, actually. And it's funny because the type of books that I would read most likely, I love horror and like psychological thrillers.
Oh, I do too. Yeah.
You're right. So I was like, romance, no. But it just kind of happened. It happened organically. I just started writing love stories. It felt good in that moment,
Mm-hmm.
especially with my son and not knowing what was going on with him medically and stuff. And I just needed to feel good. I didn't want to go down a dark path. I
Right.
wanted something that was going to make me feel good and get me out of my own head for just a little bit.
That's yeah. That makes sense.
Mm-hmm. So it happened organically, and I'm blessed for it.
Hi, Islin. Thank you for joining us. And trying to make sure I'm not missing anyone. Erica, thank you for. She said Saint was the man. Yes. Yes,
Yep.
yes, yes. All right. Now, would you consider your male characters to be like anti-heroes? Or because I know they're complicated, most of them, the ones I've read
Yes.
anyway.
Yeah.
Would you characterize them like that?
I would. I
Okay.
would. Most of them, not all, of course, but the majority of them,
Right.
I would say, would fit the definition of an anti-hero.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they're problematic typically, and these are not small issues.
Right, 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 right.
Yeah, these are complicated, serious issues, but I love to see a transformation in people.
Mm-hmm.
And so to me, it's like okay, this man, he's been through all these things and he has all these hangups and issues he's trying to navigate. But for this one woman,
Right.
you're right, you see him transforming. And to me, that's just so beautiful, you know.
Mm-hmm. And that's what
So
I love too about your books. The hero, the males, they're not your typical hero in the story. They like you said, they have issues. Some of them are damaged,
right.
but not to the point where they are like horrible to the female. I would never read anything like that anyway. But
Exactly. And you hit on a very important point there where it's
yes,
like, I want to make sure that even though they may get into an argument
right,
or there may be something, you know, kicking up, you know, as far as some sort of disagreement, that he is not abusive to her. To me, that's very important. And
mm-hmm.
readers, whether you're male or female, if you're reading romance, sometimes you will put pieces of yourself into that heroine, and you didn't come to that book to be abused, and so you don't want to see her
Right,
abused.
right.
So I try to steer clear of that sort of thing, or at least not by the hero. If something happens to her, it shouldn't be by him. So
Right, and I agree with you on that.
right.
Yes. Now I always ask romance authors this: when you're looking for a good romance, what is your go-to either movie or book? And I love the different answers that people get.
I can't, there's too many books to name, and so
Right.
I'm gonna steer clear of that one.
Okay.
But The Bronx Tale, hands down.
Oh, really? Okay, that's the first that somebody said that. Okay.
I love that movie. And of course, the interracial relationship was, I wouldn't say secondary, but it wasn't the only focus. But to
Right.
me, that movie is just, it just wraps up everything that I love in a
That's the one with
movie.
Robert De Niro, right? Is that Robert De Niro that's
He
in
was
that?
in that, and also I forget the name of the two male characters, but see, now I gotta look it up because you I'm gonna tell you, yes, Robert De Niro was in it,
Okay.
and Chaz, whatever his name is, the young guy who played the guy who was in love with Terrell Hicks.
Okay. Now, so
Yeah,
you're gonna have me going to look at this movie because I'm thinking that I saw it before, but it's been a
it's
while. So,
really good.
yeah.
Rewatch it.
Mm.
Rewatch it.
Love the fact Loretta saying she loved the fact that once they were intimate, they stay loyal. Yes,
Okay.
yes, yeah. We don't want them once they do fall. We don't want them cheating and stuff.
Right. Like I said, and that's okay. And please, I don't want anybody else that writes things like that to think about
Right.
because some people really dig that, and that's cool. We do not judge here.
Right.
Right, but yes, I understand that some people are not down for that. I get that, and I do try to steer clear of that. But I mean, in some books, it probably can work. Just with the way that I construct my characters,
Right.
it's really not a good fit, probably, to have something like that happen. Because I
Right,
try
because
to
they're
bring a
already
level.
coming from like a dark place sometimes, or like I said, damaged. So for them to
Right.
open up to this woman, it just wouldn't make sense for them to
Exactly.
do
And I'm
that
trying to
again.
show a progression and maturity.
Right.
So for that to happen, that would show a downgrade. They would have
Right.
regressed basically. So I don't want
Right.
to do that, you know.
Katina, thank you for joining us. um, but yes, I love your male characters. Frances is saying that she loves the Bronx Tales. The Bronx Tales.
Yeah, good movie. You got to check it out again.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to check it out. Okay, so what advice would you give to someone who's just starting out on their writing journey?
And you know what? My advice changes probably every few years because the market changes so often. When I got into this career, that was back in 2010 when that first Cross Climax dropped.
Right.
And things are a lot different now for indie authors. For one, there's a lot more of us.
Right.
And I got in during the heyday, basically, when people were giving indie authors a chance without us having to jump through a bunch of hoops. So I am very grateful and blessed for that my writing, and this is just my opinion because I'm my worst critic. I cringe when I read some of my earlier work. It's
Mm.
really hard for me to get through it because it's like, wow, this is bad, you know. But
You can see the growth
I
in
can
your
see the
writing.
growth. But what gets me is that even back then, there were readers that still saw through all that, they
Right.
saw that I had something,
Right.
and they stayed with me, they rode with me, despite some of the editing errors, because I didn't have a good editor at that point.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I
Mm-hmm.
was just using my husband or this teacher I knew, or, you know,
Right. Right.
whatever. And despite all this, that, and the third, they still hung with me to the point where the books is like, okay, she's getting her rhythm. She's
Mm-hmm.
figuring it out. She's learning. She's not making the same mistakes. She's got a real editor now.
Right. Right.
You
Right.
know what I mean? Her process is more smooth and, you know, on point. So I got in at a time where I was able to do that. Like I said, now the market is overly saturated.
Mm-hmm.
And I say overly saturated because there are people who don't do this for the love of the storytelling, or for they don't feel that they actually have a gift. It's a grift.
Okay.
And so that has unfortunately caused some readers to be a little gun shy about giving indie authors a chance,
Mm-hmm.
because it's like, okay, you know, I work hard for my money as a
Right.
reader.
Right.
And I get that. And they're like, I don't want to spend $2, $3, $4, $5 on somebody. And then I come to find out it's just they didn't put any effort into it. It's choppy, or they didn't warn me about a huge cliffhanger. And then when I go to get the second part of the book, it's not there, you
Right.
know, and all of this. So right now, that is what's going on. So new people trying to get into this field, they have more of an uphill battle than I had.
Mm.
So my advice would be to use all the free and low paying, or low cost classes, seminars that they can to get their work tight.
Okay.
Because there's a lot of people in this bowl and they have to be able to stand out a little better. Get your word around, use Instagram, TikTok, all these things that are free, and
Right.
put little excerpts out there, do little things, put your feelers out there. Readers they love talking to me, and probably any other person that's interested. Ask them, what would you like to see more of? What are you
Mm-hmm.
reading right now? You know, that helps so much. So use these free and low cost resources
Right.
to get things the way they need to be before you produce your work, before you publish it.
I
And if
love
you're
that.
get an editor, and I know good editors cost a lot of money. Mine definitely is not free, and she is not cheap. I'm not going to hold you. But at least get somebody who's really good at it and can help you with that. And now there's these other programs, and I'm not for AI. I want to put that
Mm-hmm.
out there. But when it comes to checking for grammar issues
Okay. Yes.
and things like that, use it. Use it. Not for not to write your book, please don't. But
No.
but right, but for actual grammar and
Right.
spelling, and to make sure that you don't have huge potholes in your story, you know, things like that, and make sure you're not calling people different names, the same character, you know, just
Right.
things like
Right.
that.
Right.
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 Use that. And some of those are free for like just a few pages. It'll check,
Mm-hmm.
but you have to pay, of course, when you for more. But use things like that are a lot cheaper. That'll get your work a lot more polished if you can't afford an editor right out the door.
Right. Because at least that gives you something that.
Exactly. Then
Right.
you have at least something where your
Right.
work is not it hasn't been looked at all.
Right.
So that would be my advice, to get the best polished product that you can. Talk to readers, get involved, start groups, pay attention, take workshops, seminars
Mm-hmm.
to get your writing on point. Then learn the business. You have got to learn the business. Also, copyright your work. It's really important.
Mm.
There's a lot of weird stuff going on out here with people borrowing things.
Oh my goodness.
So make sure that you are legally protected. So don't be posting your entire book online
Right.
and then
Right.
surprised when somebody's put it on Amazon and is getting
Right.
money off of it. So just be really, if these things happen, unfortunately.
Yes.
So just be careful and just do those things. But that would be my advice. Just get your products really good and learn a little bit about marketing and learn the business and the parts that you don't know and you don't understand and you need help with. Ask.
Ask somebody, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The worst I can say is no, and then move on to the next.
Exactly. Exactly.
But I love that though, because aside from the actual creative side, you do have to think about the business side. If you don't have an actual publishing company behind you,
Right.
you have to do all of it yourself.
That's right.
Yeah. So
That's right.
good advice. Jennifer is saying she's always looking for new authors, and she's a huge reader. She read close to 700, but yeah, she does. She reads
Wow. That's really impressive.
Lee James is saying, Tiana, your character development and storyline research sets the bar really high. I know when I buy a Tiana Laveen, it's going to be full 7-course meal and not. I agree. And the editing is on point and all of
Thank
that.
you. Thank you. And it's funny. Lee is biased. I have to be fair here because she's one of my beta readers.
Oh, okay.
And she's really good. So she's able to help. She finds little things that I miss too because I'm real funny. I will reread something to death. I will tell my readers, I hope that it's out this week, and it won't be because I'm still rereading it for the 80th time because I just want to make sure it's right. That's like I'm real funny about stuff like that. So,
well, the readers, I'm sure, appreciate it. Island is saying, what do you think about how Amazon is basically leasing the books to readers now?
Like the Kindle Unlimited, things like that. That's been going on for a while.
Yeah, I think she's talking about something new just happened recently where they're saying that once you purchase it, you don't really own it or something.
Oh, that yes, okay. Allegedly that was happening anyway, and that may be true. Like when you download a song, you don't really own that. It's kind of the same thing. So. But when it's put into words, it's kind of jarring. It's upsetting to hear that because it's like, hold up, now I bought this. This is my copy, and I get that. I think Amazon's being a little slick. They're just telling us what they've been doing this whole time.
Whole time, huh?
Right. So,
right, and that's what I was listening to. Somebody, a singer, be an interview. I can't remember who it was now, but they were saying that they really miss. From the artist standpoint, they miss, and for me as a listener too, miss the hard copy, the vinyl and the CD and stuff, because it really is yours, and you can go back to it right there and see it in your collection. Yeah, so
and that's why I've been telling people lately, because now that I know what she was talking about with her question leasing, I know it's not as convenient. I get this. Readers, get paperbacks if you really love. I'm not saying for all your books, but if there's a book that you really love and you're like, this is it,
right?
Get the paperback.
Yes, and I do. If it's something that I really
own it, Amazon cannot take this back from you.
Right.
In your possession. Anything digital can be taken from you, no matter what it is. So
that's good advice. I love that. Okay, so we're going to get into the books and the characters. For those in the audience who haven't read it yet, can you give a brief overview of what the series is about?
Sure. Okay, so the 7 Deadly Kins is 7 cousins who live in Houston, Texas. Now, there's a patriarch here, and this guy is Grandpa Wild. It's Cyrus Wild, and he is one of the main guys that helps run what they call the Dixie / Southern Mafia. Okay, so he's a big dog. Okay, now the problem with Mr. Wild, Grandpa Wild, is that he's a control freak. He's religious and steeped in it. He's very, very damaged. Demonstrates quite a few narcissistic traits. He's cruel. He's violent. He's manipulative. He's all the things that you do not want.
Right.
He's all the things, right? So now he had in his little neck of the woods, he runs his own businesses. He runs a big chunk of Houston. He's got cops paid off, people to stay out of his way and out of his business. So people can't even call for help, you know.
Right, right.
He's got his fingers in everything. Now, the issue though, he has this family business and he has this ideology that blood is very important. And what that means is he wants people in his family to help run the company.
Yes.
Especially after he's thinking about longevity and he's thinking about a legacy. So like after he passes, and he only wants people that are from his bloodline. Now, typically he doesn't have any issues with his relatives coming and taking these jobs that he assigns for them. But there are some people that have told him no or given him trouble as far as him wanting to put them in line for a position in the company.
Right.
These particular members are 7 grandsons of his, and he has these grandsons and many, many more, and granddaughters too. But in this particular case, there's 7 grandsons that have refused. Because he's been married many times. He's had many wives and mistresses and whatnot. And so he had a lot of kids, and those kids had children naturally. So these particular grandsons he wants very badly, because these are the alpha dudes. These are the grandsons that from the moment they were born, he was at that hospital and watching them. And that's this creepy thing with him. He watches these grandsons grow up. He tries to mold them and shape them how he wants them to be. So he's just investing, he feels, in his product. But things do not go as planned. They're telling him, no, we want our own lives. We do not want to be a part of your debauchery. We're not going to work for you. So that is what the series is about. It's about him trying to control and get these 7 grandsons and to basically work for his empire, to be a part of that. And it's about each grandson's journey and fight with dealing with Grandpa Wild. And also, of course, we have each grandson with their love interest in the story. So they've already met the love interest before, or they meet them in the story, which is more common for the books. And it's about the development of that romance as well. That takes a little more precedence than the other issues, but they're still pretty neck and neck. So it's a I don't know if I call it dark, but there's some darkness to it. But it's a romance. It's with some dark elements. There's a lot of drama and there's a lot of suspense.
And okay, so we're getting that. Give me 1 second. Somebody is knocking on the door right when I'm live.
Oh, you're 63? Lodi, I was reading your comment there. Oh my gosh, you look good. I've seen your pictures. I would have never guessed. You look great. You need bigger fonts. So, you know what though? If you get the Kindle versions, you can make it actually bigger on your Kindle. Now, of course, you can't do that with paperback. You'd have to use a magnifying glass or something. But yeah, you can enlarge it.
I tell you. And of course, that's my husband. I'm saying I'm live. What's going on?
It's always them.
Oh man. Oh, Myra says she uses Grammarly in hers.
Yeah,
for her writing.
Yeah, just use something to help you if you can't afford an editor. Since you read that comment, back to just real quick with that. If you are using Grammarly or whatever, and then later in your writing career, when you have the funds to get a professional editor, still do that. But those are all fine at first, and also as in conjunction with your editor. Because the more polished you have your product before you give it to the editor, the better off you'll be. Because some editors are charged by the page or whatever, so you want to make sure your stuff is pretty clean before you give it to them.
Right. Okay. All right. So book one is part one and part two is Top Dog Lust, the Top Dog Lust, and that's Lennox and Nadia's story.
Right.
So who is Lennox? What is his character like in
Okay, so he's one of Grandpa Wild's grandsons. Obviously, he refused to work for him.
Mhm.
Lennox is this big buff guy. He's a gym rat. He's old fashioned and really sweet. He's handsome, and he's also a bouncer.
Yeah.
So he runs into an old friend of his one night when he's at work. She comes into the bar, and that's Nadia. So he runs into her, and here it is right here too. Yeah, here's
Love it.
both books.
I know that cover.
And so yeah, and then they hit it off. Sparks fly again as soon as they see each other. So
And I love that because it's a mixture of second chance and friends to lovers.
exactly.
Yeah.
Right, because
Um,
they had never been able to develop it. They were young. They were
right.
working at a restaurant together. Is how they initially met when they were teenagers,
Right.
or not teenagers, but in their early 20s.
Yeah. Right.
Right. So yeah, so they didn't really but they always had feelings for each other. They just never acted on them.
And I love how when we get a little bit of their backstory, um, they are both coming from dysfunctional households,
Right.
um, and both dealing with things with Nadia and her mother. Even though her mother is there emotionally, she's not available.
Exactly.
Right.
Right.
So I think that they bonded from that as well. Because even back then, they were aware of, like, I think he used to see her crying in the closet or something. I can't remember what
Yeah,
it
in the
was.
back
Yeah.
pantry
Hmm.
area. Yeah,
Hmm.
the back. Yeah, he'd see in the restaurant. She'd be crying because she would get into it with her mom, and she just didn't. She didn't feel seen.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, things were difficult, and then she had a tumultuous relationship with her father, who she felt
Yes.
like pretty much abandoned her. So yeah.
Yeah, and I love the how the growth throughout the story of both characters and how they are able to heal um from the things that they dealt with from their parents, and then with Lennox, because with Lennox he has a father that loves him and his sister, but he considers him a coward basically because he's under his grandfather's thumb.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. Right. And so he doesn't respect him. And
Right,
so, that causes a dynamic right there.
right,
And
right.
yeah, so
And I love, like I said, I loved how they were able to heal individually, but I think that just from them being together and in each other's lives, it gave them that support that they needed to be able to do that as well.
definitely. And
Mhm.
also Saint was introduced back into this book too.
Yes, I noticed that.
Yeah,
Yes.
Lennox, right? Lennox is a reader. He likes, even though he's a gym rat, and people have stereotypes about guys that are in the gym all the time. Lennox is a really smart guy, and he
Hmm.
really likes doing things for self improvement. He's trying to get himself together,
Right.
And one way he's trying to get himself together is um, finding out why he's done some of the things that he's done. Basically, trying to self therapy himself through books and
Hmm.
reading, and that's how he discovers Saint's information.
Right.
So, and then he had a therapy session with Saint, and he tells Nadia about it.
Yes.
And then later in the story, you get to see a scene with Nadia and Saint, and
Hmm.
that's a pretty intense scene. So,
Yes, I
yeah,
love that that was introduced in the story as well. What is saying? He loved them but couldn't protect them. Right, his father. Right.
right, right.
Hmm.
And the whole thing with Lennox's mom and that whole
Oh
issue,
yeah, yeah.
because I mean, I wouldn't say Lennox was a mama boy, but he was really close to his mother. And she passed away, and
Hmm.
there was issues with that too, regarding, and things happened to him emotionally that
Right.
made him susceptible to things that he normally probably wouldn't have been. So
Yes.
he was emotionally broken down after his mother died, and he felt like she was pretty much the glue of the family.
Yes, most definitely. Right, because the father he basically fell apart as well. after the mother died, because it seemed like she had more of a I don't want to say backbone, but
No,
as
she
far as
did. She did. Yeah, we can call a spade a spade.
right.
She rocked. She rocked with the grandpa, like not like God. She let him know,
Right.
you are out of control, and that's why he didn't like her.
Right.
So yeah.
um, and then another interesting part for me too in Lennox's story is his relationship with his sister and how the grandfather was so manipulative from the time
Mhm.
that she was little and tried to did drive a wedge between them.
Exactly.
Yes, and
And
they
it
were
worked for a
estranged.
while. Yeah.
Yes.
Hmm.
And you did a great job, I think, demonstrating how Lennox felt about his sister being estranged, and how it still affected him.
Right. Because
Yeah.
they used to be really, really close.
Hmm.
They were tight. And then, like I said, after the mom died, the family kind of fell apart.
Right. Right.
So yeah.
Lee is saying, let's see, that wasn't a scene. The was a TED talk. Saint broke it all the way down. Yeah. 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 Hmm. Now, what I like too is, okay, so Nadia, when they were friends and they worked together, she was planning to go to law school. So when they reconnect, she's no longer in law school, but she's an exotic dancer, and she automatically expects him to look at her a certain way. I think she actually brings on a lot of the feelings that her mother has relate
Hmm.
regarding men when she first reconnects with him, and she's expecting
Yeah.
him to basically uh, think that she's beneath him in a way because of her the exotic dancer. And so when he comes to the club and watches her dance, I love that scene.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite scenes in the books too, because she's dancing and doing her thing, and then she looks, and there he is.
Right, right.
Right.
With a big smirk on his face, like
Right. He wasn't judging at all. Yeah, he wasn't. He gave her some money and basically said, "Do your
right,
thing."
right.
Right. Yeah.
Oh man.
Yep.
And then too, we get to find out about her struggles as far as how water affects her.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
yeah, because of an accident. I thought that was brilliantly done too. Love that aspect of it.
Thank you. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, so many women can relate to that. Some sort of domestic violence or some sort of situation that was physically traumatic.
Right.
That there's certain smells or sounds or whatever that we can hear or whatever that will trigger that memory to come back.
Yes. Yes.
So yeah.
I actually was able to relate to it also.
Oh, God bless.
Yeah, so that was really, 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 I think that's why it resonated with me.
Mm.
Um, and then let's see. Then too, when Nadia at first didn't tell Lennox about the grandfather sending the cousin.
Oh,
Um, I'm
yes.
like, why are you starting this off already? Where you not? But I understood where she was coming from. She didn't want him to, you
She
know,
knew.
yeah,
Remember?
that he
Yeah,
was.
because I'll try not to do a spoiler too much here, but they had an incident when they worked at the restaurant. She knew how Lennox got down. So right, she
So she
knew
knew if she told him, right?
right that some heads were gonna roll. Because Lennox is not that dude that you just do that with and you just gonna
Right.
walk off. Right.
And that's another thing. I think the grandfather actually did too underestimate him because he's so laid back and
Exactly.
right and a brainiac.
Right.
Um,
And the grandpa even said that he said he wanted to do the easy one first, just get it out the way. Because he
mhm.
figured, yeah, Lennox is laid back, he's loyal, he'll sacrifice himself for the greater good. And that's
Right.
not what happened. So yeah.
When
Yep.
that's one of the things I love too in the story is Lennox matching wits with his grandfather
Yeah.
in it. And I also love too because that's one of my favorite things is strong family bonds. And even though this
Mm.
one is very dysfunctional, you do have pockets
Yes.
of family bonds. So I love that even though Grandpa Wild tried to pit them against each other and keep them apart, that Lennox actually started reaching out to his cousins.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Exactly. And another strong bond that some people had mentioned too was Nadia and her brother. They
Yes,
loved had their connection. So yeah.
yes,
Hmm.
yes, Lord, you're right. Trauma bond. Yes, trauma
Oh
bond.
yeah, there was definitely
Mhm.
some trauma bonding going on for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most definitely. Okay, now, okay, so I don't know what Tiana, when you wrote this scene, what were you thinking? Okay, when Grandpa Wow sends the wedding gift, but then he sends that old crazy letter along with it. When they were reading it, I was cracking up because
Yeah,
he's
he's
really
a trip.
crazy.
Yeah, he's really a trip. And that shows just how warped, because to him this was perfectly acceptable to
Right.
send this. Right. It's like, you're threatening me in the letter, and you're telling me congratulations, and
So you better accept this gift
right,
or this
exactly.
gonna happen.
Right. Right. You're gonna take this and you're gonna like it.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, that definitely had me rolling. I'm like, yeah, he
And
is
that
definitely
was to
nuts.
that scene was funny, but it was also to show just how controlling he is.
Yes.
Even that couldn't go without some sort of threat, you
Right,
know.
right.
So
He had to have his hold on every aspect of their lives, and but they were all strong enough where they fought back, where a lot of the
exactly.
family members didn't. They just fell in line.
Exactly.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Um okay. Now we're going into the black sheep, greed,
Roman, yes.
with Roman. Roman, I really enjoy him. He was
Good.
hilarious.
Yeah, he was our comic relief dude.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah, Roman is a trip. Yeah.
Katina is saying he sounds like a fun character, right? You mean oh, she might be talking about Lennox, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Roman, Katina, when you have to check out these books, but Roman, he is hilarious. Um
Yeah,
he
he
had me
really
rolling, and you matched him well with a woman who was just as hilarious as he was. They both got each other's funny.
yeah, Genesis. Hmm.
So I love that about them too.
Good. Yeah. Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that too. I felt like too that because of some of the seriousness and some of the heaviness of some of the topics in the books,
Yes.
that you kind of need that to help balance it. And also because I know how all 7 books are supposed to flow in advance, obviously. And so the third book, when you see Cage, that is so heavy, you're going to need Roman
Oh,
before
okay.
that.
Okay.
So yeah, not that
And we
Cage.
get him. We get him too in this a little bit, and we see how.
Yeah, so you see, right? Cage is funny too, but Cage is dealing with a lot of demons.
Okay.
So
Okay.
yeah,
So his might be even heavier. Okay.
right.
Katina was talking about the grandfather that he probably is fun to write because he's
Oh, he
so.
is actually the
Mm-hmm,
grandfather is really fun to write.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, he is. He's something else.
Because he is Craig. He is just so delusional because he really believes a lot of the stuff that he.
Oh yes,
Yes.
yeah. He's not lying. The stuff he's saying, most of it he believes. Not
Right.
all of it, but most of it. Yeah.
Lakeisha is saying Roman kept you on your toes. Most definitely, most definitely. And I love the that you had that sense of humor with him, but then you also have the strong Marine. So you get both sides with
Right.
him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I figured Roman would be a favorite because he's cute, he's funny, and he's got a lot of money. So yeah,
Mm, that too. Yep.
right.
Um, and then the scene between him and Sheriff, is it Gomes or
Yes.
Gomes? Was hilarious because in in the precinct.
Oh yeah.
Oh man,
When he got
yeah,
out
he
the
was
handcuff. Yeah.
to the point where the sheriff had to call the grandfather, like like you do something with this with your grandson.
Exactly. Right. Yeah.
Oh man,
There's a reason Grandpa wants these 7 grandchildren, and
right.
the reader gets to see that these are exceptional people. They're
Mm-hmm.
extraordinary people. These are not your average Joe. They are alphas. they are strong, they fight, they're
Yes.
violent. This is not, that the very thing that's causing them to not want to be with him is the very reason he wants them.
Right, right. Heavy on the money. Yes, he definitely has the money, and we find out from his backstory why that's so important to him. He never wants to, be in a position where he, has to struggle.
Exactly. He
Um,
grew up very poor, right?
yes,
And he
yes,
saw a lot of dysfunction in his home, and it
hmm
scares him.
yes.
Yeah.
But what I loved about his story, though, as opposed to Lennox, even though Lennox's father loved him too, but with Roman's father, even though he fell short, the love came through between and Roman still went to see him all the time. And
Hmm.
so yeah, so I love that
That's
bond
right.
between
Yeah,
them.
his father, even, and that just, and I think it reminded me kind of like when Tupac would talk about his mother.
Oh yeah.
He was like, even though at one point she was on drugs,
Right.
he still respected her, and she still tried the best she could under those
Hmm.
circumstances in the midst of addiction. And
Yes.
and it kind of, that's kind of what Roman's father was dealing with. It's like, yes, I'm having these issues. I'm doing these things to myself that are very destructive, but
Hmm.
I know it may not look like it, but I do love my children very much
Right.
in spite of it.
Him and Roman's mother too.
Yes.
They were, even with all their struggles, they did love their kids.
Right.
And that shined through too. And I love, like you said, how they're on a healing journey, all of them.
Yes.
And Roman definitely is, he wanted to change because he was a thief and a con artist, and
Hmm.
so he's trying to, turn the page on that. But his grandfather, of course, is trying to keep him under, get him under his thumb, just from trying to from his past.
Right. Right. Yeah.
Mhm.
Using that to extort him, basically, and
Yes,
to have him do illegal insider trading and things
right.
like that. So yeah.
So basically using him, that's the only reason he wants the, and then, he's always about family, but is so he can control them and, get what he wants out of them. And
Right.
they
And
and
he's
they know that, right.
exactly, and he is warped Christian scripture to help back up these
Hmm.
things that he feels are okay to do.
Hmm. Which is what we see a lot
Yes.
even now, yes.
Yes.
Um,
Exactly.
so okay, another thing that I love too is again a strong friendship between Roman and Tony.
Yes.
And then when he tells Tony he wants to ask out Genesis's baby sister, and
Yeah.
Tony flips out.
Yeah. Right.
But
Right.
I love the scene because a lot of stuff came out between hurtful things that they said to each other,
Oh
and
yeah.
Roman was like, "So is this how you felt about me all this time?"
Mm-hmm.
Um, and so that was difficult too,
Yeah.
between the two of them. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like that he said, Roman said in the end, our friendship means a lot to us. So if this really means that much to you, I won't ask her out.
Right. And he stuck by that.
And he stuck by it. Oh man, where there's a will, there's a way. He got
Yeah.
his out. He got his out.
Yep. Fate just happened. So yeah.
Um, yes, so yes, Grandpa definitely was using God to do evil.
Do
He was,
evil.
yes. Um, Man, but that was, yeah, I love that. I love that scene between them and then him and Genesis. But
Mm,
there were so many heartfelt moments in this story to me. One was the conversation between Roman and his father in the beginning of his story, when he went to go see him in prison. Um, and basically, they talked a lot about, his father was telling him why he believes that he never had a serious relationship. And they talked, and then he let him know something about, I guess, that he had blocked out about what he had said to his mother that was harmful or
mm-hmm.
hurtful. I mean, yeah,
Right.
yeah,
Yeah, a lot of psychologists, they talk about, men that have commitment issues, something where they can't seem to fully connect emotionally, mentally, whatever, with their partner.
Right.
A lot of times, this is for heterosexual relationships. It stems from however they interpret their relationship with their mother. Not
Right.
that that's how the relationship necessarily went, but how they saw it, how they
Right.
interpreted. And Roman had serious trust issues with women that he wasn't even aware of.
Right. Because he
Because
was shocked when his father told him that. Yeah.
exactly, because in his mind, if he loves his mother, he's close to his mother, he's helping take
Hmm.
care of his mother. What do you mean? What do you mean?
Right.
But everything else was actually proving his father right,
Hmm.
that you're sabotaging relationships before they get to a certain point. You're putting these women through all these tests and stuff. You're not going to be
Right.
faithful. You're playing games, things like that, things that are not, that he knows deep down are not okay.
Hmm.
But yeah, and so his relationship with his mother, he felt like at the pivotal point when he was a child, when him and his brothers needed her most, she didn't do what she needed to do. And
Right.
he and his brothers ended up suffering for that.
Right.
So he buried that instead of dealing with it.
Yes, and so I thought that was a poignant moment too when when he goes to his mother and he asks her about it, and they actually have a conversation about it.
Right.
But then she lets him know that that she understood, even though it was hurtful,
Right.
that she understood where he was coming from because she did fall short for a moment. So it came from a real place, a place of
Right.
fear. Hmm.
Right. And I think it's too, even though we can't, what the relationships we have in our own lives, they're not always tidy and pretty where we have these wonderful mature conversations and everything's fine. But I'd like to sometimes in my book show how it would feel if you did receive that closure, if you
Hmm.
did get the first start of that healing, if your feelings were actually acknowledged for a change, where
Yes.
you weren't told no, you're overreacting or you're exaggerating or it didn't happen at all. Those things are equally as traumatic as we try to confront things that have happened to us from people in our family or friendship circles or even relationships at work, where you confront somebody and you're confronting them in a manner that you feel is respectful, but you're doing it in order to put closure and to heal, and the
Yeah.
person is acting like you're out of your mind, or they're
Hmm.
doing things to further the trauma instead of saying, I don't remember it that way, but if that's
Yes.
how it happened, I'm
Yes.
sorry.
Mhm.
So we don't know in real life. A lot of times we don't get that, but
True.
and sometimes in the books they don't get that. But
Hmm.
sometimes I wanted to show what that looks like if you did get that.
I
And
loved
that's,
it too. Yeah, it was. It
thank you. I
was
wanted to do that
beautiful.
with Roman and his parents to show you could be a drug addict and still remorseful and try to do better.
Hmm. And I
So
think that's why he stayed connected to him so much too, because he saw it. He saw that, and then especially when he found out his father's backstory.
right.
That was difficult
Oh
too.
yeah. Yeah,
Yeah.
it explained everything. And he was
Hmm.
also able to forgive his mother even more once he saw why she did what she did and why it was
Right.
a struggle for her to make a decision that he thought at the time should have been easy.
Easy. Right.
Hmm.
Another favorite scene for me too was when Roman and Genesis went hiking, because he wanted to show her his special place, and just the entire, oh my goodness, scene was beautifully done.
Thank you.
Yes, so beautifully done, and the way he was able to open up to her about all the, his childhood traumas and fears. I just loved them together. Loved it.
Thank you. Yeah,
Mhm.
I really like Genesis and him together, and I thought they meshed well together too. And
Mhm.
she wasn't as broken as him, so it was easier for her to kind of fill in some of the cracks.
Yes. Lois say functioning addicts. Yeah, even though I don't know how much, because they were very dysfunctional in the home back then. That's
Right.
how Roman and his
Right.
brothers ended up out of the home. Yeah.
Right.
So
Hmm.
um another heartfelt moment for me was Roman when his father was hurt, and uh he broke down on the plane, even though I don't think we got him on the plane breaking down. We just found out
Through
afterwards.
Genesis.
Yeah, right.
Hmm.
And then again when he was at his father's bedside.
Yes.
Loved
Yeah.
it.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Their relationship's really special.
Mm-hmm. It was just so many moments like that that I love. But like I said, like you said, you balanced it with the lighthearted moments because when he was on the phone with his cousin,
With Cage.
yeah,
Yeah. See,
and Cage is having a full on like argument with the
right.
people at the Home Depot or
At the
whatever it
Home
was.
Depot.
And then he hear all this commotion and stuff, and he's trying to have a serious conversation with his cousin. It was just crazy.
Right. He's trying to tell him, something happened to your uncle, and Cage
Right.
is doing all this stuff.
Oh man.
Yeah.
But that I can't wait for his story.
It's coming. Yeah. Cage is crazy.
And we do get that sense. Oh my
Uh-huh.
goodness. Leah saying, and it's these themes that resonate with women, at least in the book group discussions I participated in. Very powerful.
Mm.
Yeah, yeah. And that's a good point too, because I always thought that and let me know if I'm correct, that you write basically from the male point of view in your books.
You're
Okay.
correct.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, of course, now in this series, I am leaning a little bit more towards more
Mm-hmm,
more
mm-hmm.
equal time, but it's still more heavy on the male
Right.
POV. So yes, but you're right. The majority of my books, really 99% of them, I can only think of one where it's maybe literally half and half. But yeah,
Mm-hmm.
I do male POV because that's just my natural writing voice.
Right.
So it's not like I sat down and thought, okay, I'm going to write in the male POV. It just happened.
It just happened. Yeah.
So yeah.
But yeah, when she said that though, it made me think about that because it is true that it would resonate with women as far as, but even though it is, from the male point of view for the most part, but you're right.
Right.
In this, we do get like a balance of it.
And I tell you, and believe it or not, I think that actually helps with my writing and my reader base, because a lot of times we as women, I'll say, we kind of know what we think about certain
True.
things.
True.
So when we have a man telling us something, our ears kind of perk up because that's a whole different type of interpretation of things.
Mm-hmm,
Because
mm-hmm.
there are a lot of similarities, obviously, but there's a lot of differences between how we process information and see
Yes.
things as far as in relationships, and how men process the same exact thing.
Yes.
So, right. So
Anybody who's been married a long time with her too. Yeah, you would.
Exactly. So to me, it's like too, it's a little gift where you can see this male point of view. And I don't just rush in and just do this stuff. I do it because for the majority of my youth and my college years and stuff, most of my friends were males. So
Okay.
I know a lot about how they were thinking and what they were doing and this and that and the third. And,
Okay.
being around my male cousins and stuff, I saw a lot of things. So for me, just from observing, I was able to pick up stuff that I think some women don't see or realize.
Mm-hmm.
And so I was able to use all those experiences and all those conversations I had, because see, I was the buddy. I was a girl, but I was the buddy. So I was privy to all kinds of conversations that their girlfriends definitely weren't going to be hearing.
Mm-hmm.
But I got to hear this stuff. So I got to get into the male psyche early on. And I remembered this information. So I'm able to pour it into the books.
I love that. And it reminded, when you just said that, it reminded me of Lennox and Nadia's backstory, because even though they had, romantic feelings for each other, they didn't know that they were mainly friends, but they got a lot of information and insight into each other that others didn't.
Exactly.
Because they were the buddies. Right.
Yep. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So they knew each other on an even deeper level.
Right.
Because, if somebody's just your friend and you're not interested in them romantically, they'll see things that because you're more comfortable. You don't have to put on a show or, because, I got a crush on them, I can't do this. I can't
right.
You're gonna let it. They might even see you walking around looking like a bum,
Right,
so
right.
they get to see all of that.
Yep, love it. Now with the greed portion of the theme of the Roman story, of course we get, because in the beginning that he was, the thief and the con man and all of that, and the stuff with the casinos.
Right.
But then we see when he starts to when he's redeeming himself, there were so many moments in the story. And is that the only part with the greed portion of it? Am I missing something else?
With the seven deadly cans, I try to show different aspects of how whatever that sin is,
Mm-hmm.
how it's flowing through the book in different ways.
Okay.
So, like for example, with Top Dog, with Lennox and Lust, you saw Lust with Lennox, with
Mm-hmm.
how he dealt with women. Even though he was a gentleman, he still was running through them like water.
Yes, true.
And then Nadia, who she wasn't necessarily hoeing, but she was in that profession, and all these men were coming and paying her and seeing her out of lust.
Right.
And then, of course, we have Grandpa Wild, who has his own lust issues.
Mm-hmm.
So the sin just flows through the characters in different ways. Now, with Roman, of course, greed was, you could see he had issues with money.
Right.
He had a fear of not having money. So he chose careers where he felt like he would be better set up. And he was always good with money and numbers, and he just kind of, played on that. But then, of course, like you said, the stuff with the casino and all that.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he's redeeming himself, you see him doing things with money again to help people.
But in a different way, right.
Exactly. Instead of taking, then he's giving.
Mm-hmm.
But then you see Grandpa doing stuff with greed. I won't do the spoiler, but you know what I'm talking about, what he did.
Yes.
And then there's other things you see going on with greed going on too. You see Tony's Roman's best friend, Tony's wife.
Right. Forgot about her.
Yep. There's things with that. So it's kind of just woven through the story. You're seeing different levels of this sin happening all throughout the story with the different characters.
Love it. Love it. And I loved Roman, how he was blessing other people, especially Miss Charlie. And she's, for those in the audience, she's Genesis' next door neighbor. And she's always looking out for Genesis and, helping her out and cooking for her. And so Genesis was always telling Roman this. So Roman wanted to bless Miss Charlie. And he just did something so grand gesture. I just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't believe it.
Yeah, that scene, I loved writing that scene because that's the type of thing you dream of that you could do.
Yes. Oh man. Now we get introduced as far as with Grandpa Wild and his obsession with finding I can't remember her name. Tina. We don't know much about who she is, why she left, and all of that. So I'm assuming over the course of the series, we're going to find that out.
More and more information's coming out. Yes.
But I was the whole time that he was talking to the private investigator, I was like, please don't let him find her. I don't even know what the backstory is. I just like, with his crazy self, she left for a reason.
Right. She sure did. Yep. And you'll find out more about Tina and stuff too, and what happened with that. As you see, he was madly in love with her. He's obsessed.
Yes.
So yeah. He don't care. He's going to tear the whole world up trying to find this woman.
And the fact that he said that he don't know whether he wants to shoot her or hug her, I'm like, okay, she needs to stay gone.
Oh gosh. Yeah, she's the one that got away. Yes. And she's really the only woman he ever loved. So
okay.
Yeah.
If he even know what that word means.
Exactly. But... Right. So take that with a grain of salt.
Right. Loette is saying that Roman, he was the Robin Hood.
Yeah, he was.
Yes.
He was. Yeah.
Most definitely. Now I wanted to ask you too, with Silva, and Roman was telling Genesis that he doesn't really understand the relationship because he said he really does think his grandfather loves Silva and would never hurt her or anything. Huh?
You talking about Lennox?
Lennox. Sorry, yeah, Lennox.
Okay.
And Silva. But because she wanted, once she finally heard his side and he gave her the proof and all of that stuff. Because I understood, because she couldn't see her grandfather the way he saw him. Right. Because he put, he was always the perfect grandfather to her.
Well, right. He didn't want her for the enterprise. So he didn't have to do all those things with her. He could just pretend with her.
Right.
Yeah,
That was my question though. Was it pretend? Did he act? Does he actually? It seemed like he does have a soft spot for.
he does.
He
He
does.
loves her.
Yeah.
Yeah. Actually,
Okay.
and Grandpa Wild is a very polarizing character. Um, there's so many things that we detest about him. The majority of the things we do, but there's like one or two things that should, at this point, give you pause. Like, is he really that diabolical? Because I saw a glimmer of a heart there, you
Right.
know. So yeah, and that continues throughout the series, and you find out more and more about how he really feels about some things.
Okay. Okay. I can't wait. I can't wait. Another one of my favorite scenes. I know we're getting up to time. Was the wedding vows between Genesis and Roman,
Oh,
and love their wedding vows to each other, and then Genesis making everybody laugh.
oh yeah,
Um,
about the tree. Yeah, the tree.
even him bust out laughing in the middle of
Yeah,
his yeah,
and she's
loved it.
just so matter of fact with stuff. So yeah.
Right. Oh man, but Tiana was such a joy reading these books. I told you I had to devour them because I to get ready for it because I had already read the first two, and then when you
Mm-hmm.
told me about the third one, I read that. But yeah, they are so good, and if you haven't read them, the people in the audience, please pick them up. You will not be disappointed at all.
Thank you.
Um,
Yes, please do.
Yes, it is a wild ride, and
No
Grandpa
pun
Wild is
intended.
crazy, right? Wait a minute, Leah's saying that Grandpa Wild is sexy too, right? You're right. Yep, he crazy
There's some
and
sex
sexy.
appeal there. There is some sex appeal. I'm not going to even hold you. Right?
Oh man. Oh, Louise said all of your vows be the stuff.
Oh, thank you.
um, so you said you're finishing up book three.
Yes,
Anything else
Cage's
in the
book.
pipeline that you can talk about?
Any what? I'm sorry.
Anything else you have in the pipeline that you
Well,
can
I'm
talk about?
right now. I'm just pretty much concentrating on this series, but I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I can get a short Christmas story out because I really
Okay.
want to write this one story, and it's a little different from my usual ones. But so that I do have the outline done for it. I just hope I can get to it and get it done. So I'd like
Okay.
to offer that this year too.
And I love Christmas stories, so
Oh,
I'm here. I'm
good,
here for it.
good.
All right. Well, I really want to thank you for coming on the show. It was a
Thank you for
pleasure
having
talking to
me.
you. You're welcome. You're welcome. And I'll be on the lookout for book three. I cannot wait to read.
Yes,
And
and he's sloth. He's sloth. So yeah, the
oh my goodness. Okay.
the
Okay.
lone wolf sloth, right?
I
Mm-hmm.
cannot wait. I cannot wait. All right. Well, enjoy the rest of your evening, and hopefully we'll be able to talk soon.
Wonderful. Thanks for having me, and thanks for everybody who came. I really appreciate it.
All right. And what is LaJoyce? Oh, she said a short. I guess she don't believe that it's gonna be a short Christmas.
Oh, she always messes with me. See, this is my friend in real life.
Oh, wait, okay.
Yeah, but I met her through as a reader.
Okay,
And she
okay.
and I have been to New York and stuff. We, you know, we're tight. But yeah, she always messes with me. And I see even in this, she had to come in here and mess with me.
She said she'll believe it when she see it. That is
Right.
oh man. All right. Okay, before you all leave, I'm going to go into my second segment. It's going to be quick. We do a weekly highlight. And actually you can stay if you want because my highlight usually I do a separate book, but in honor of you, I actually was going to do another one of my favorites of yours as my
Oh, okay.
highlight for this week. Okay, so and you all, if you've read this, let me know in the comments what you think. And let me break it up. Okay, and if you're new to here, the weekly highlight usually is not anything that I have to, read recently or anything because I did read this several years ago, but it stood out to me. Okay.
Okay.
All right. And here it is. My weekly highlight, my highlight for this week is Tyrant by Tiana
Oh,
Laveen.
yeah.
Yeah, I love, still to this day, I love, 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 love this book.
Yeah,
Loved it.
that's
Loved
a
it.
favorite. That book still
Yes.
sells well. Yeah.
Yes. So anybody in the audience, has anybody else read Tyrant? Let me know what you think. With Tyrant is another one. He's damaged and closed off, and he's dangerous.
Oh yes.
Um,
Yeah, he definitely is. Hunter is definitely somebody you do not want to mess with. Yeah.
yes, and I love that about him too. I loved
Yeah.
it. I love. Lois said, "Girl, that was the bomb."
No, he did not play. Yeah.
uh, and for those in the audience who hasn't read it, okay, here's the synopsis. Hunter was born to fight. Now he must fight for love. Hunter Wolf's life has been a revolving door in the penitentiary system of Saginaw and Detroit, where I'm from, Detroit,
Hey.
um, from an early age. After witnessing the brutal murder of his mother as a young boy, the trauma molded him into a juvenile delinquent his grandparents could no longer control. It was no surprise to anyone in his circle that he became a weapons enthusiast and ruthless street boxer. Despite what many believe, though, Hunter's heart beats for a select few, such as his dying friend Noah, who has given him a set of tasks to complete on his behalf. Somewhere along the way, though, the unimaginable happens. Nita Percy is a hardworking single mother living in Detroit, Michigan. The last thing she needs is a hawking, beastly felon that Hunter hanging around her home, but her hands are tied, seeing that her daughter's best friend's father is about to draw his last breath. Nita realizes appearances can be deceiving and sees through Hunter's gruff exterior. As a friendship begins between them and their physical attraction grows stronger, she can no longer fight her desire for him, no matter how hard she tries. Love has punched her in the heart. This is a tale of earning trust, turning turmoil into triumph, and unlikely love into the heart of the Motor City. And when I tell you it is a great read, if you have not read it, please pick this up as well. You will love it.
Thank
Um,
you. Yeah, I love
or
that.
people,
I loved writing that book.
yes, 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 yes. So you made my weekly highlight for this week as well.
Thank you. What an honor. I appreciate that. What an honor.
All right, everyone, thank you so much for coming out and being so engaged. And be sure to pick up the Seven Deadly Kins. I love that title. By Tiana Laveen. If you have not already, you will not be disappointed. All right, and I'll see you on my regular night Monday in a couple of days. So I hope you can join me then as well. Good night, everyone.
Bye bye.